Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Sefton, and welcome to this special GamesIndustry.biz webinar with TikTok and the National Research Group, Mastering Engagement and Loyalty in the New Mobile Gaming Era. As we open today's discussion, it's clear that the fusion of mobile gaming with broader cultural and social dynamics is redefining our industry. Throughout this webinar, we'll explore how these elements are intertwined with the success of games in the current market. As the mobile gaming landscape evolves, understanding the modern gamer's preferences and the dynamics of game discovery and engagement is becoming crucial for game developers and marketers alike. Additionally, the modern mobile gamer is an influencer in their own right, often dictating trends and engaging deeply with media. They spend significant time streaming content, and this behavior actually influences their gaming choices. This demographic's unique characteristics are shaping how we think about game design and marketing, emphasizing the need for a nuanced approach to engagement. We'll look at how platforms like TikTok are revolutionizing discovery and engagement and making it crucial for marketers and developers to adapt swiftly to these evolving demands. We'll also today delve into the transformative landscape of mobile gaming, drawing on key insights from the white paper by TikTok and NRG. In the webinar today, you'll discover how rapid changes in the mobile landscape, such as social and innovative gaming experiences, and policy changes in app tracking can affect your mobile business. Discover the 3 core pillars for success in the current mobile market. Find out more about the profile of the modern gamer, and you'll also discover how to leverage the TikTok platform to increase engagement and discovery of your mobile games. So, with me today, I'm pleased to welcome the Global Marketing Strategy Manager Gaming at TikTok, Patrick Herrin, and EVP Head of Gaming at NRG, Colin Lervik. So, hello, Patrick and Colin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patrick Herron. I'm a marketing strategy manager at TikTok. In my role, I integrate culturally relevant storytelling with strategic digital marketing to amplify content that resonates deeply with gaming marketers on a global scale. My journey before joining TikTok equipped me with a diverse range of experiences. I've crafted strategic media plans and executed full funnel campaigns for clients such as PlayStation, Adidas, Facebook, Bandai Namco, and Amazon. I am an LA native, and I've always had a passion for both the digital and the natural, whether it's mastering the latest game, I'm playing Helldivers 2 right now, or catching waves off the coast as an avid surfer. My love for gaming spans across all platforms and genres, fueling my drive to innovate within the gaming industry and beyond. I'm excited to share insights today on how we at TikTok are shaping the future of mobile gaming and to discuss how we can all leverage the dynamic changes in this landscape. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to our discussion today.
And hello, everyone. Very excited to be here. Colin Lervik, EVP and Head of Games Research at NRG. So a little background on my experiences. I've been part of the games industry doing custom and syndicated audience insights research for 15 years. Today, as we go through these different topics, I'll be speaking in terms of my opinions and experiences, but also sharing some insights and data from a recent study we completed with TikTok. One of the aspects of that we'll be referencing, and I'll provide more detail. Some of the data that we're referencing comes from one of our syndicated trackers called Franchise IQ. And I'll take a quick moment here just to level set on what that is. So Franchise IQ is a syndicated tracking service. We've been using it to measure the health and equity of over 800 entertainment franchises around the world since 2019. When we built it, since its inception, it's been a very popular resource for top entertainment and franchise IP holders. But I would say, the last 2 years, we've seen a rise in its importance for game publishers as well. That's probably not surprising. There's been a real eruption in terms of the possibilities for game-based IP in a transmedia landscape. There are other drivers as well, as game publishers are working on finding ways to build the equity and strength of their own title brands or identify right franchise partners for IP licensing deals. So for all those reasons, we've been leveraging it more, and I'll be talking about it quite a bit during this session.
Fantastic. Great to have you both here. So we're going to kick off today with a presentation by Colin Lervik at NRG about understanding the modern mobile gaming landscape. So over to you, Colin.
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, so we just wanted to start, I think, with setting the table a little bit with some details around the landscape, some things that those on this session may already know, but I think it's helpful to just establish a base of where we are. So anytime we're talking about mobile gaming, I think it's important to reflect on the sheer size of it. If you look at global games revenue, mobile we know is bigger than the combination of PC, console, and handheld. That's driven by accessibility, ability to reach a massive set of consumers. I think depending on the projections you look at, forecasted to be over 2 billion players for mobile and by the end of this year. Mobile, like other aspects of the gaming industry, experienced a huge surge through the pandemic as new players were coming in and existing players increased their engagement. So that's all there for sure, but there are also challenges. We're seeing growth slow down post-pandemic. There's changes in consumer behaviors that are driving that. There are challenging macroeconomic conditions, changes in policies, privacy policies in particular, that make it more difficult to identify and act on opportunities in market. So just overall increased competitive environment. So in aggregate, I think you think of that as, hey, this is a changing climate. There's a need to bring mobile games to market in different ways, and consumer preferences that seem to be changing in real time. So these are all reasons why we, I think TikTok as well, felt it was a good time to partner on our study together. Let me start with the audience that was the main focus for the work we did, which we're calling the modern gamers. So who are modern gamers? What does that mean? So I think in very simple terms, what we did is we took this massive data set that we have from Franchise IQ, and we looked at who's playing mobile games, but importantly, who's playing at a higher engagement rate. So we ended up defining it as 7 or more hours per week. So think of these as the players that are really driving interest, likely to be influencing others, most likely to be spending in game, really the most valuable consumers in market. We looked at them and said, hey, just what is different? Let's just look at across all of these characteristics they have, what differs from them and let's say your average player. Some things definitely stood out to us and I think became the basis of where we wanted to go with the white paper that we produced. Some highlights real quick, and then we'll get into some stats. Think of them as an audience that's going to have an increased preference for social interaction. That includes within the games themselves, but also with broader communities. We see them engaged on social platforms for sure, like TikTok. We see them wanting to interact with their peers. We see them putting a value on brand connection and brand trustworthiness. So all these qualities, and we'll go through those in more detail one by one, but as you just start to think, what are essentially the emerging attitudes and preferences of the gamers that are going to drive demand going forward in mobile? Those are the things to be thinking about. So let's get into some stats. So the first thing I think that really stood out to us, and again, if you're thinking about how are we going to resonate with modern gamers going forward, massive one here is that they're 5 times more likely to be influenced by pop culture trends compared to other gamers. So that's within gaming, but it's also with other aspects of their life. And there's a lot of talk about relevance, cultural relevance in today's industry. And I think the idea here is that that's can't be understated how important it is to try to figure out how to take a game and make it resonant culturally, to tap into a zeitgeist. That's more than just aligning with current trends and memes. But also thinking about being intentional in terms of how a game can be conducive for shareable content, relatable content that speaks to modern gamers' interests. That's one big thing. Another big thing, and Jamie talked about this a little bit in the intro, is that these modern gamers are not just consuming content from influencers, they have a desire to be influencers themselves. And that's why you see so much potential for organic content on platforms like TikTok. They want to be part of the discussion. They value connection and community. So a lot of it is thinking about how do you enable that? They're not going to talk about just anything. How do you make a game something that they want to then influence others about, which we'll be talking about for sure in this discussion. And then the final piece is brand loyalty. So mentioned before, they kind of value having a one-to-one connection with a brand. They value brand trustworthiness. If they respect and have fandom for a brand, that pays off with loyalty. You know, as we all know, that one of the bigger challenges in mobile games is retention. This has to do with that. So if they feel like they're connected to a brand, they're more likely to consider engaging with it across channels, and when they are engaged, they're more likely to continue wanting to invest. And so all those qualities and combined, cultural relevance and tapping into that, being intentional about mobilizing that desire within them to influence, and then working to build a brand that improves consideration and long-term loyalty. Those are, I think, the critical aspects to think about with this new modern gaming audience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Colin. I mean, I just find that fascinating how, gamers can be influencers now. I mean, there's always been kind of, word of mouth, which is really strong. But I mean, that kind of has been supercharged by social media and TikTok and these platforms. I think it's completely changed the kind of relationship between developers and their audience. I think that's really, really interesting. Okay, just a reminder that we've had some really great questions from everyone who signed up for today, and we'll answer as many as we can at the end. So next up to talk about the TikTok effect on mobile gaming is Patrick. So over to you.
Thanks, Jamie. And great points, Colin. At TikTok, we've witnessed firsthand how mobile gaming has intertwined with a community platform to create a vibrant ecosystem for discovery and engagement. The modern gamer, as Colin mentioned, seeks more than just entertainment. They look for immersive, social, and innovative experiences. TikTok has become a hub for these gamers, offering a platform where gaming culture thrives through creativity, community, and shared experiences. Moreover, TikTok's role extends beyond a mere platform for discovery. It's a space where gamers create and share content, influencing game popularity and engagement. Understanding this dynamic is key to leveraging TikTok effectively, ensuring that games not only catch the eye, but also resonate deeply with this engaged audience. Our strategies within our partnered white paper focus on tapping into this behavior, using TikTok to foster community and enhance game discovery through cultural relevance and those shared experiences. Firstly, let's understand the modern gamer. As I mentioned, this isn't just someone who plays games. This is someone who lives them. Their gaming experience is intertwined deeply with their identity and social interactions. As Colin mentioned earlier, the modern gamer is ingrained with popular culture and fueling it with their passions and interests as they show up on TikTok. In fact, 52% of modern gamers believe that it is important for a game to be popular on social media when deciding which game to play. Our partnership with NRG has illuminated the significance of connecting with gamers on a cultural level. 73% of modern gamers want to play a game that understands them as a player. Games that resonate with the current zeitgeist see remarkable success on TikTok, tapping into the platform's vast user engagement. But it's not just about tapping into trends. The key to success lies in fostering a community. On TikTok, gamers find a place where they can express themselves, share experiences, and connect with others who have that shared passion. 61% of modern gamers want to play a game that connects them to like-minded players. This stat supports what we see on TikTok. TikTok users are highly engaged with gaming content, actively seeking games that offer more than just gameplay. They crave authentic experiences that games and TikTok together provide. So why is TikTok that key destination? NRG's data shows that TikTok users are highly engaged with gaming content, making it an essential platform for publishers aiming to tap into this audience. In fact, 50% of mobile gamers are using TikTok. And in the US, TikTok is the #1 platform for discovering new mobile games for ages 18 to 24. Games that gain traction often spark conversations and discussions through posts on TikTok. We've observed how certain games become viral sensations on the platform, with users creating posts that generate immense buzz around these IPs. For instance, just take a look at the numbers. Pokemon Go, Call of Duty, and Dragon Ball, each boasting millions of posts dedicated to gameplay, fun, and cultural references, all of which also have mobile gaming ties. Our research with NRG really dives into the impact of franchises among modern gamers. Colin, could you jump in to just talk a little bit about franchise IQ and this research around franchises?
Yeah, so I teed that up a little bit earlier, but I think it's helpful to just quickly note again the scale of the program over at 800 franchises included. We're capturing more than 3,000 survey completes to fuel that per week, so well over 200,000 globally across 12 countries every year. So that's like the facts and figures of the program. But I think what I'll say as it relates to this discussion in terms of why it's strategically important to be paying attention to. So in the not too distant past, and I think even for sure in cases still today, you can find teams that are working in isolation on an IP depending on the medium or channel. So meaning, okay, this is the games team making a game and bringing it to market. There's also a separate team working on a film and bringing that to market, and so on. There's not much strategic overlap in terms of thinking about how to leverage the equities of a franchise. So franchise IQ was built on the idea that transmedia franchises have key equities that are inherent across mediums. And if you can cultivate those the right way, it can make sure that it can help drive success across all your consumer touch points. So that's the intent of it as we get into this discussion and some of the qualities that we know are inherently important for transmedia franchises. Think of those as the things we've seen be predictive of success across channel, across all the franchises we've tracked over the last 5 years.
Definitely. Yeah, games that are based on popular intellectual properties have a special edge. They attract players of all skill levels simply because they're part of a brand that we already love. Think about it. When a game stays true to its original brand, it's not only pulling in fans who are already hooked on that brand, but also boosts the game's overall vibe. Now let's talk about a lot of where that magic happens. Why I'm speaking today, TikTok. TikTok is a gold mine for fan communities. From Pokemon to Marvel, these platforms are bustling with fans who are already engaged and ready to listen. Game publishers can really benefit by jumping into these communities, especially if they team up with creators who are already influential in those spaces. This way, they build trust and a dedicated fan base right where the fans hang out. But here's the twist. Not every successful game needs to start with a known IP. Look at games like Roblox or Genshin Impact. They started from scratch, creating their own unique brand identities that really resonate with mobile gamers. And guess what? They've managed to build incredibly loyal fan bases too. So, whether you're using a beloved IP or starting fresh, the key is to connect with your audience in a genuine way. Both paths hold great potential for creating lasting bonds with players everywhere. And, for more information on this, within our white paper, we talk about the importance of IP marketing and how these franchise brand measures relate to reaching this new modern gamer and achieving mobile game success long term. Our partnership with NRG has illuminated the crucial roles of cultural relevance, connection, and community in propelling mobile games to success. TikTok transcends traditional marketing, weaving games into the fabric of daily entertainment and fostering deep engagement with vibrant communities. This integration not only boosts game visibility, but it cultivates that dedicated and loyal audience as we experience this new evolving landscape. Through TikTok, publishers have the opportunity to craft content that resonates with the modern gamer's craving for authenticity and immersion, and overall enhancing the gaming experience beyond just the game itself. The platform's ability to nurture community ties strengthen players' engagement and loyalty, as the value of connecting with both the game and community is equally important and paramount. To summarize what we just went through together, the transformative impact of TikTok on mobile gaming introduces a dynamic mix of cultural resonance, meaningful connections, and a sense of belonging. Looking ahead, adopting these key pillars will be essential for publishers aiming to leave a lasting mark on the rapidly changing mobile gaming landscape.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Patrick. Right, we're now going to have a discussion about strategies for success in mobile gaming, looking at these pillars of cultural relevance, connection, and community. They're not just theoretical concepts, but they're actual practical strategies that have proven effective in attracting and retaining players. So over to you, Colin.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. And so I know we'll go through each of those three pillars one by one, but I think maybe quickly to first say, if you're just thinking about the pattern across those three, in addition to them all starting with the letter C, they all relate to this idea that this is about building games that aren't just entertaining, but now resonate culturally. It's a different bar to try to reach, to tap into zeitgeist, to think about how am I going to leverage platforms to make my game discoverable in the right kind of way.
Absolutely, Colin. Yeah. And on TikTok, we encourage publishers to embrace that authenticity and creativity in their content. This means not just showcasing games, but also building narratives and communities that reflect the players' interests and passions. It's about creating a space where players feel seen and heard, which in turn fosters that loyalty and advocacy for their games in the future.
Yeah, and we talked about it before, the way that privacy policies are changing and ushering us into somewhat of a new era is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity for innovation, really. You're hearing more and more discussion around full funnel strategy rather than just performance oriented strategy. What does that mean? I think it's using these three pillars to figure out how to cast a wider net to broaden appeal, offer games that have depth of engagement. So again, integrating elements of social interaction. I think the broader point is product market fit. People talk about that a lot as well. That's not just about creating games that players want to play. It's creating games that also have elements that are going to make them discoverable on the platforms where people are paying most attention and spending their time now.
Yeah. And from TikTok's perspective, we see the power of viral content and community-driven campaigns in promoting these games. It's not just about ads, it's about fostering that genuine engagement and creativity amongst users in this newly built community. For instance, TikTok Creative Challenges, which is a product of ours, TTCC, it enables advertisers to get ad creatives generated by creators. And this proves that user-generated content campaigns are highly effective in driving awareness and downloads for new and established games alike.
Okay, great. So let's bring you, Patrick, and Colin together to dive deeper into the three C's identified in the white paper: cultural relevance, connection, and community. How do these pillars shape the strategies for success in the modern mobile gaming world?
Yeah, so I'll start us off. We'll talking about cultural relevance to begin. See, that's a big one, and we're talking about it's crucial. It's also one that's a lot easier to say than to do in terms of connecting to what's going on. Yeah. But there are strategies, and if you look at what publishers are doing, some are being very successful here, and I think it requires intentional effort. We've already kind of put a number of data points, I think, to help support why this is important, but just also want to quickly say we also have this sense around basically organic or networking scale, if you can be culturally relevant, because what's happening is modern gamers see content, and then if they perceive there are to be a relevant discussion around it, then they're likely to recommend it to other people as well. So can't, I think, underscore enough how important it is. In terms of strategies, so this is a little bit of a plug given I'm a researcher, but there's a necessary amount of pre-planned audience and landscape research that likely needs to be done around, okay, who's the target for our game, and not just asking, well, what other games are they playing and how does our game compare to that, but also what do we know about them? What are their other likes and dislikes? What are the things that they're following? What are the brands that they're interested in? How do we tap into those things in a more meaningful way? That's got to be an important part of this. There are other things, and we'll talk about it with upcoming case studies we're going to go through, but just what themes and storytelling from a brand standpoint do we want to bring to so what kind of stories can we tell and what resonates in culture right now, and how do we combine those things in an authentic way. And then of course there's also the tactics around events and key collaborations that are relevant to the communities that are already built around the games.
Yeah, exactly, Colin. Yeah, and TikTok, we see games achieve significant traction when they engage with cultural moments. It's not just about being present, it's about being actively part of the conversation. For instance, integrating trends or challenges that are popular on the platform into your game can make it more relatable and engaging to the audience, makes it feel more real. Within our white paper, we even have gaming publisher executive quotes. And one of them that stand out that relates to this pillar is once you have players that are engaged with your game, TikTok can be a meaningful place to build buzz by showcasing new teasers or exciting promotions.
Yeah, and so it's again challenging, but it's elevating, I think, a little bit of what is the bar for what we're trying to achieve here. How are we creating a narrative around our game that players can identify with, that's going to make it integral to their digital life, meaning not just competing and standing out against other games they play, but all the different ways in which they their attention is spread. So the next pillar is around connection. So think of connection as almost like a one-to-one relationship between the player and the publisher brand or the game itself, depending on how the player thinks of it. So something that involves some trust, a sense of mutual respect, the player themselves feeling valued and heard. Usually that would be achieved through transparent communications, engaging with player feedback, making sure the game is evolving in the right direction based on player needs. All those things are publishers are already doing to some degree, but based on what we were looking at before around brand loyalty, another stat here that if modern gamers are, if they feel like the game itself cares about its fans, they're also very likely to recommend it to others. So by nurturing them in the connection aspect, you can also then expand and gain new audiences. It's an interesting connection you might not have thought was there. So I already rattled off a few things, but again, just taking another look at our communication strategy, community engagement tactics, how are we hearing and responding to player feedback? I think you're seeing publishers find creative ways to reward loyalty for players, both in terms of like things that are happening in game, but just in a bigger sense and engagement with brand over time. Finding ways to personalize the experience to the fan, and then being transparent. So a number of things there, but all worth looking at.
Yeah, and leveraging TikTok for direct communication and engagement can significantly enhance that one-to-one connection. Showing behind the scenes content, responding to player feedback through videos, or even just spotlighting player created content can make players feel like they're part of the game's journey. It personalizes the experience, turning players into advocates for the game. And another quote from our expert interviews within this white paper, one had said, TikTok is a useful resource to understand our players better. We've been able to learn which music they like and which characters or skins they prefer, which has helped us design better games.
Yeah. And then the third pillar, we talk about a community. So if connection is let's say the brand or the game, the publisher to the player, community is player to player. And that's not just in game, but that's also connections that can be happening in and around the game as well. I think for a long time in mobile games, it's been known that if you can incorporate social features to enhance a game experience, they may not be used by every player, but those who do engage with it will retain. That's a tactic that we've seen, I think, repeated. This is that, but it's bigger than that, because what we're seeing with this modern gamer is that if they feel like their friends are engaging and talking about an experience, they're also going to be likely to recommend it to others. So it all comes back to growth and opportunities to bring new players in as well. So mentioned it. What like tactics? What does that mean? So for sure, a part of it is social feature integration. Are we doing things within our game that provide opportunities for players to interact with each other? Of course. But then are we doing other things around it to foster a sense of community on behalf of our players? So community driven events, recognizing specific players within the community, leveraging community platforms where they're already having a degree of this discussion, and certainly looking at leading creators that are already vocal and prominent in communities that are organically forming around games, and looking at ways to do collaborations there that feel authentic.
Definitely, Colin. And as you mentioned, the importance of community cannot be overstated. In a world where gamers value connections, not just with games, but with each other, it creates a sense of belonging, and loyalty is crucial. On TikTok, community building is facilitated through shared experiences and content creation. Encouraging players to create and share their own content related to your game can foster a sense of loyalty and belonging to a larger community in itself. This can be through the creator challenges that I had mentioned, sharing gameplay tips, or even in-game events that encourage community participation. Our platform has become a pivotal space for gamers not to only play, but to share, create, and interact with content that resonates with their lifestyle. By enabling gamers to express themselves and their gaming experiences through these videos, we've seen uplifts in game discovery and player engagement. This form of interaction encourages a more active and committed relationship between gamers and game developers.
That's fascinating. I mean, long gone are the days when you could just put a marketing video up on social media and think, right, job done. Yeah. Could you both share how developers and marketers can implement these strategies practically?
Yeah, I think we covered off on a number of things there, but if I was going to distill it down, if you start with cultural relevance, establishing through research or other methods a firm understanding of what's happening, what's trending, so to speak, but also how your game can authentically engage with those trends. For community, it's about providing tools and platforms for players to connect and share experiences. And for connection, it's about finding ways to prioritize transparency and open up lines of communication.
Yeah. And taking advantage of TikTok, not just for broadcasting, but for engaging. Use TikTok to tap into cultural trends, foster community with creator challenges and hashtags, and build connections by highlighting and engaging with player created content. It's about making your game a living, breathing part of the player's world.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Patrick and Colin, for these deep dives into the 3 C's of mobile game success. To illustrate these points a little bit better, can we look at some of the success stories?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start us off with one, and I know Patrick has some others he'll speak to. So,
Great.
one of the ones we covered in the white paper is Merge Mansion. See, Merge is a increasingly crowded category within casual gaming. But I think specifically what we're talking about here was some of the very creative storytelling and marketing they used in the Pedro Pascal campaign that was able to successfully draw in a wide audience. I think to me, it's a great example of how to tackle that, again, challenging question of how do we attach ourselves to something that's culturally relevant in a way that's authentic. So if you look at that, for those who have seen it, if you haven't, I'm sure most people on here probably have, but if you haven't, it's worth checking it out, because there's an intentional strategy there that's not just about attaching to a popular face. In particular, Pedro Pascal was going through a moment where he was going viral on social platforms, the same social platforms where people are discovering games. There's a synergy there. People want to discuss him, learn about him, and then there's a narrative built into that campaign that itself is also compelling. All those things, I think, combined elevated the way that people think about what Merge Mansion is, and encourage people to check it out who wouldn't have ever tried it otherwise.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And another great example is Raid Shadow Legends for connection. By partnering with creators, influencers, and integrating familiar faces into their game, they build trust and a strong connection with their audience. Their strategic use of TikTok and other platforms for community engagement has made them a staple in the mobile gaming world. Speaking of creators and influencers, they even integrated UFC, WWE legend Ronda Rousey into their promotional content and eventually the game in itself. She proved to be a great thematic fit since it's a fantasy fighting game and it broadened the audience to her fan base and bring attention to her own passion for gaming. These partnerships and their presence on TikTok really shows that they are truly connecting with their players by tapping into culture. Um, yes. Another great example is also a collaboration with mobile gaming publisher Lessmore. The popular titles like Eat Venture and We Are Warriors, and they embraced all three C's through TikTok and have seen significant results. As it relates to cultural relevance, Lessmore's strategy involved partnering with trusted creative partners through our TikTok Creative Exchange, which ensures that their content resonates across various cultures and languages. This approach not only enhanced content relevance, but also significantly improved performance. And I'll get into that in a little bit with their other title. In regards to connection, they really emphasize authenticity, less more engaged in scaling user-generated content on TikTok, and fostered a genuine connection between players and the game. With TikTok's assistance, they also mapped out player journeys, identifying users who were most engaged and are receptive to ads and in-app purchases. When it comes to community, the impact of these strategies was most evident with We Are Warriors. And this is where we see the performance. We Are Warriors garnered over 3 million downloads on TikTok. 1.7 million were organic. The success wasn't solely attributed to hashtagging We Are Warriors, but to the community that was fostered on the platform. The game's exclusive launch on TikTok catalyzed community interactions, driving a significant number of organic downloads and sharing within social circles. This case underscores the transformative TikTok effect on mobile gaming by leveraging cultural relevance, deepening player connection, and nurturing a vibrant community. As we look to the future, the intersection of gaming and media platforms will continue to evolve and expand. At TikTok, we are committed to leading this charge, constantly innovating to meet the needs of tomorrow's gamers and publishers alike. We're excited about the possibilities that lie ahead and are eager to continue this journey with all of you, pushing the boundaries of what mobile gaming can achieve.
Fantastic. Okay, Patrick and Colin, thank you very much for that. It's great to hear about the success stories. Before we dive into our Q&A session, let's reflect on the discussions from Patrick and Colin. The insights shared today underline the importance of adapting to a landscape where gamers' expectations are continuously evolving. The strategic takeaways from today's discussions, particularly around leveraging platforms like TikTok, will hopefully aid in navigating this dynamic market. As we prepare to address our audience questions, think about how these strategies discussed might apply to your own contexts and challenges in the games industry. Okay, we're now going to go into the Q&A, and we've had some great questions from everyone who signed up for the webinar today. So, Patrick and Colin, are you ready to answer questions? You revved up? Ready? Good stuff. Okay, let's start with this one. And actually, we had a few variations on this sort of style of question. But the question is, if I have an account from Eastern Europe, how can I get discovered by people living in Northern America or Asia in an organic way?
Yeah, definitely. So I can take this one. As I was mentioning earlier with the success stories, I think Lessmore is a great example of how to scale into new markets. For their title, We Are Warriors, as I mentioned, they prioritize the production of creatives in local languages, firstly. And that's emphasizing the importance of preserving an authentic TikTok experience for users in different regions. This led them to leverage the TikTok Creative Exchange program, specifically reaching out for creatives in languages such as Korean and Japanese. This allowed Lessmore to tailor its content to effectively expand into these specific markets by combining creatives from both TikTok Creative Challenge and TikTok Creative Exchange, both of which I had mentioned throughout this webinar. Lessmore gained valuable insights into the most popular creative hooks through those products. This approach enabled the publisher to adapt to content from different markets, leveraging these effective hooks and maximizing exposure. In essence, both of the creators from both of these solutions have provided a comprehensive understanding of audience preferences, facilitating the creation of tailored content that resonated well across diverse markets. For their other title, Adventure, the publisher started on TikTok at relatively low daily budgets, first targeting the US market, and then had a goal of scaling to other markets after mastering those TikTok best practices. Upon figuring out the most efficient approach to optimization and targeting, the campaign was scaled to Australia, Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, etc. By finding out what works through our scaled solutions, this can help inform your organic content strategy and how to tailor your approach when you expand and appeal to global markets.
Yeah, great stuff. I hope that answers your question there. Okay, next question. Let's have a look. Can you share? Yeah, this is a good one. I'm interested in this one as well. So, can you share what gamers' behaviors are on the TikTok platform and what you've learned about the audience?
Yeah, definitely. In this changing world of mobile gaming, publishers have more challenges and new opportunities. This release with NRG reveals that success in modern gaming hinges on those three pillars we talked about, right? Cultural relevance, connection with players, and community engagement with TikTok emerging as that premier platform. We also have research, one of which with material to reinforce why TikTok has a valuable role in significantly driving more gaming revenue and how it relates to the audience. So gamers on TikTok are a high value audience. We've seen that 60% of gamers on TikTok tend to pay more to have the latest and best features. TikTok inspires gamers to take action and adapt to the evolving gaming culture as quickly as new gaming technology. And TikTok supercharges spending power. Gamers show increased spending and loyalty to gaming publishers when TikTok is a part of their mobile gaming journey. With TikTok, overall spending rises, including a 1.5 times higher expenditure on purchases on power-ups, characters, accessories, and monthly subscriptions compared to, other gaming experiences that don't include TikTok. The continued power of community is very relevant within the TikTok platform, and TikTok fuels community interactions. Even after the game is downloaded, gamers are 2.3 times more likely to convince a friend or family member to download it. And passion really lies within TikTok mobile gamers. TikTok's mobile gaming community is not just active, they are passionate. They are 50% more likely to recommend games to friends and 70% more likely to discuss games on social media, showcasing TikTok's unique ability to amplify word of mouth and online discussions about games.
Yeah, great stuff. Actually, Patrick, can we take down the slide so people can see more of our beautiful faces? There we go. Fantastic. Good stuff. Thank you for that answer. Brilliant stuff. Okay, let's pick another one. I think we've got time for one more before we have to end this. So, do you think the mobile game market will ever rival the PC and console market? That's a loaded question if ever I've seen one, because yeah, I mean, it does already, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah, that's an interesting one. Maybe I'll try that one. I have some experience on the PC console side too. I think, first of all, I probably assume who's asking that question is probably not talking about revenue.
Yeah.
Talking about
is it
mobile
like
games
cultural
relevance
or something? That's that
yeah.
sort of side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's likely what they mean. So, and maybe I'll tie this back to a lot of times when we're talking about the three C's or cultivating franchise equity, a lot of times the assumption I think within mobile is, okay, well, you're talking about licensing deals. And that's oh, sure, that's a strategy, but it also produces challenging economics for publishers. And so it's not just that, it's also being intentional about cultivating really strong franchise IP from within the mobile games, right? So I have a game, how can we be intentional about building a brand around it? And I think That, and maybe that's the source of the question, because that's long
yeah.
been the strategy in PC and console, where you have to build a good brand in order to get the consideration you're wanting from installment to installment, with multiple years in between and all those things. So yeah, I certainly think it's doable. I think we're already seeing mobile publishers take strides forward in whether they're bringing an entirely new IP that has now opportunities in a broader landscape. I think let's see, Genshin Impact is one that's been mindful, especially in the East, as one that originates out of mobile games, but has really established a presence and high degree of awareness, and has, I think, a lot of opportunity as an IP going forward. It can also be examples of, like, Pokemon Go, for example, the enduring quality of that. Yes, it's built around an already an established and licensed IP, but it is actually contributing to the ecosystem and equity of that transmedia, of that franchise, more than many other touch points. So I think, yeah, absolutely, mobile games can be origins for new IP, and they can also help really shape the franchise equity landscape. Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Great stuff. Well, I'm seeing questions coming in, but unfortunately we're running out of time. So I'll have to wrap things up for today. But a huge thanks to Patrick Herring at TikTok and Colin Lervick at NRG. Thanks, guys. To wrap up, I want to thank both of our speakers for their deep dives into the transformative trends impacting mobile gaming today. The insights provided today will hopefully aid in navigating this dynamic landscape. For everyone who joined us, keep these conversations going. I can see them going already. Apply the learnings, and let's continue to push the boundaries, I think, of what mobile gaming can achieve. So thanks to everyone for your questions.
Thank you, Jamie, and thanks to everyone who tuned in. We're excited to see how these trends evolve and how publishers continue to innovate on platforms like TikTok.
And it's been a pleasure to participate this and discuss these insights into the landscape for mobile gaming. It's certainly evolving, and we're excited to be part of it. So thank you.
Fantastic. We are recording this webinar, so you'll be able to see this again in a few days. There'll be a piece on GamesIndustry.biz. So thank you all for tuning in today. You can catch up with the latest news and features on GamesIndustry.biz. But until the next webinar, thanks for joining us, and see you soon. Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.